Hi guys, I'm Saumya and I'm back again with another video. If you are an old subscriber, then welcome back. But if you are new to this channel, then I make a lot of bookish content here. So if you are a book lover and a reader or would like to become one, then do hit that subscribe button and don't forget to click on the bell icon. So today's video is going to be about 5 books that intimidated me initially, but I ended up loving eventually after I read them. So I don't get intimidated by a book that often, to be honest, but when I do, I make it a point to read that book to find out whether I was getting intimidated for nothing or if it actually is a difficult experience reading that book. The point of my channel is to basically encourage as many people as I can to read books. So that's the point of this video as well. I just want to say that if you have a title in mind that you really want to read, but you are getting intimidated by it due to XYZ reason, then just go for it because you won't regret it. The only time you should not read a book is if you don't want to read it. But getting intimidated by a book should not hold you back from reading it. That's what I feel. Which books did you find intimidating before reading but ended up loving anyway after you read them? Let me know in the comment section. I look forward to your comments and let's get started with this video. The first book is Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. Now, I read this book many years back and at that time I was intimidated by this book because of the length of this book as well as the font size, which is not big at all. It's kind of tiny, to be honest, and this book is ginormous. It has around 800 pages. Not only that, this is not a standalone book, guys. This is the first book in A Song of Ice and Fire series by George R.R. Martin. There are 7 books in this series so far and other books have to follow. That's another story entirely. To be honest, I don't really get intimidated by a book because of its length, but I did get intimidated by A Song of Ice and Fire series for a brief moment, and that is why I have to include this book in today's video. Overall, I've really enjoyed reading A Song of Ice and Fire series so far, and all these books are very big, they are detailed, but they are so worth the time. And a lot of people often ask me how I read these books. I've even made a separate video talking about how to read A Song of Ice and Fire series. You can check that video out. The link will be here on the top as well as in the description box if you want to read this series. And I had a great time. As a reader, I love reading books over watching TV series or movie adaptations of those books because the books are super detail oriented and that is what I actually love, and the books have a lot of backstories that TV series or movie adaptations are not able to incorporate for obvious reasons. The next book is Milkman by Anna Burns. So this was the winner of the Man Booker Prize 2018. The reason I have included this book in this video is because the first time around when I had picked it up, I had DNF'd it, but I decided to give it another go, and that was a very good decision because this is a brilliant read. So this story is taking place in the Northern Ireland of 1970s and the city has not been named, and basically the background of this book is the political and religious tensions that were prevalent in Northern Ireland in 1970s. It's a story about an 18-year-old girl who is being stalked by a man much older than her, but she cannot do anything about it because he is an important political figure and the society is very judgmental towards women, so she is in a very vulnerable position. This book has a very nail-biting quality to it, but at the same time, one reason that makes this book intimidating is that the author Anna Burns digresses a lot and this is a very slow read to the point of being tiresome, but once I got into it, I was not able to put it down. The next book is Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. So the reason I was intimidated by this book was because it's non-fiction, and because of that, I automatically assumed that this book was going to be a difficult read and boring as well, and also that it was going to take me a really long time. But the moment I started reading this book, I forgot to be intimidated because this book is thrilling from the get-go. I was sucked into this book right from the beginning, and that's just how brilliant this book is. Non-fiction books tend to get boring somewhere or the other while you're reading them, but that just never happened for me while reading Sapiens. So that's incredible. Sapiens talks about how our society came into being, how our thought processes work, the basis of our belief systems, and what might lay in store for us in the future. And also it challenges your thought process from time to time. So not only is it thrilling, it can be an uncomfortable read as well. But on the whole, reading this book is an enlightening experience and I am very happy to have read it. This is the type of book that you want to revisit from time to time. The next book is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So the reason I was intimidated by this book was because it's a classic. Yeah, that's it. Classics are difficult to read because of the difficult language, and also they take a lot of time to get through. So I had a strategy. I decided to take my time with it, and it panned out wonderfully for me. I love this book. This is one of my all-time favorite books, and Jane Austen is one of my absolute favorite authors. I even made a video talking about her books. If you want to know how you can read classics, then I've made a video about that on my channel. The link will be in the description, also on the top of the video. So yes, Pride and Prejudice is very dear to me for many reasons. It has Elizabeth Bennet in it. That is like one of the biggest reasons ever. Her attitude, the way she carries herself is something that I aspire to imbibe, to be very honest. The next book is The Host by Stephenie Meyer. So this book has to be on this list, and I knew about Stephenie Meyer because of the Twilight series, of course, which I had read during my teenage years. I read this book a few years after I had read the Twilight books. So the reason I was intimidated by The Host was, firstly, the genre of this book is science fiction. So I'm not a very big fan of science fiction, so I didn't know how that was going to go for me. And secondly, the synopsis of this book made me quite nervous, because the synopsis talks about this alien race called souls invading human bodies, where they take over a human being and the consciousness of that human being fades away. So this concept made me very uncomfortable in a very disgusted sort of a way. So I didn't know how this story was going to go for me, but as I started reading it with a lot of nervousness, I found myself to be completely engrossed in this book. It's a lot more than a science fiction book, and it's a lot more than souls taking over human beings. It has a lot of emotions in this, and it talks about this girl named Melanie, and a soul takes over her, but Melanie's consciousness does not fade away. So the soul lives inside Melanie and Melanie lives inside Melanie. So they are at war, and they both are in love with this one guy that Melanie is in love with. So eventually the soul also falls in love with him. So that's the concept of the story. It seems rather complicated, which was the reason for it to be intimidating for me. But once you get into this book, everything makes sense and everything pans out beautifully, and it's a very well written book, and that's why I love it. So guys, these were the 5 books that were initially intimidating for me, but I ended up loving them after I finished reading them. This is a very satisfying experience, because when you are intimidated by a book, you don't expect much out of it, because you don't even expect to finish it. And when you finish it and end up loving it, it's like a bonus for you, and that is a feeling that every reader enjoys. So if you haven't yet lived that feeling, and if you are intimidated by a book, just go for it, give it a try. It might just end up becoming your favorite book, and you will be super proud of yourself. So that's a win-win. So that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you liked it. If you want to connect with me on my social media, the links are in the description box. I'll see you in my next video. Till then, bye bye, take care and stay safe.